Hi guys. This video will be in English. I posted my before and after pictures. Got questions about the martial arts, so I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Um, One of the questions that I got asked was, which is the best system or style to practice? That's very subjective. It depends on the individual and what you are looking for. Before you walk into any school, you have to be very mindful. You have to understand that martial arts schools are business. They're there to sell you. They're going to sell you as much as they can because they want your money. They need your money in order for the school to function. And if you want to get the best bang for your buck, you have to find a school that suits your own needs. Okay, so when I say your own needs, what do I mean? I mean that you have to figure out why you want to practice martial arts. Do you want to practice martial arts because you want to learn self-defense? You want to learn how to be able to handle yourself in the street. In that case, probably your best bet is a Krav Maga school. Krav Maga is an Israeli martial arts. It's designed to deal with counter-terrorism and very realistic, violent situations in the street. It's used by the Israeli military, and things are always very active, to say the least, in the Middle East. So it's a discipline that's been combat proven, and clearly it works. If you want to compete, you also need to figure out what type of competition do you want to get involved in. If it's a competition like the old classical point fighting system, where you go into a tournament and you square off, and then if they touch your face, that's 1 or 2 points and they stop the fight. If they punch you in the chest, that's 1 or 2 points. If they score a kick to the stomach or whatever, that's another amount of points and they stop the fight. It's very similar to the Olympics. When you see the Olympics, they're fighting, or better yet, if you want to look at and understand an old point system or the old traditional point system, you can watch a film called The Best of the Best with Julie Roberts' brother, Eric Roberts. I actually like that film. Or the old Karate Kid with the crane kick. That has a point system in it as well. If you're looking for something more less point oriented, more full contact, then you probably want to look for a mixed martial arts school, maybe a jiu-jitsu school that teaches full contact, and they don't stop usually unless there's a knockout or a submission. That's a little more hardcore. Or if you just want to do martial arts in a social setting, like a social club, you want to go to a social club because you want to hang out with people, you want to lose weight, you want to look good, it's for aesthetics, you have no intention of ever getting into a fight, you have no intention of competing, you just want the benefits of martial arts for your health, that's perfectly fine. You could find many gyms, gold gyms, and many different places that have clubs. Within those clubs that they have martial arts. I was looking up a school recently, and I came across several gyms or clubs that have martial arts memberships included in their membership, and you could take advantage of that. within the membership, which is pretty awesome. If you're going to a gym, you can lift weights and practice martial arts, and it's all included in the membership of the gym. So what is the best martial arts? When I was younger, I thought about that a lot. I still have friends that know that I used to practice and that I practice a little now, ask me the same thing. And, the truth of the matter is that there isn't one specific martial arts that's better than others. And I'm including mixed martial arts in that as well. And let me explain why. Martial arts or fighting systems or martial systems, whatever you want to call it, they all have their advantages and their disadvantages. Let's say boxing, for example. Boxing traditionally has specific weapons that they use for defense and for attack. These weapons are limited to their hands and fist. So they will use their hands to block. They will use their body to bob and weave, move in and out, and their attack would be, hooks, jabs, uppercuts, depending on, different combinations. So their fist, they don't have any, there's no kicks, there's no leg attacks. Of course, they use their legs for moving. They don't stay in the same place. They move around, and they're not stagnant. But their legs don't serve the purpose of attacking and defending. Then you have Muay Thai, which is a Thai system from Thailand, which is a little more complete. It uses not only hands as attacks, it also uses elbows as attack. They grab the head, bring the head down. They could use knees to bring the head down. They could hit with their knees. They could also grab, attack with their elbows. So it's a system, that they use their fist as well. It's a system that's more complete than boxing. So if you were to face a boxer versus a Thai boxer, the odds would be that the Thai boxer would win, just because they have more tools at their disposal. Now, there's always factor X. You could get another result. The factor X is that if the boxer, with his limited tools, has smarter technique, has quicker hands, more powerful strikes, he could put out the kickboxer. So a lot of times it's not just finding a system that's superior or has more techniques than others. It's also the heart of the individual, what the individual puts into the system, and their willingness to survive, their willingness to defeat, their physical ability, their natural ability to overcome the obstacle, the challenge, with the tools that they have. Now, there's this saying, jack of all trades, master of none, and sometimes it happens. You could have a system where there's a mixed martial artist. Mixed martial arts is fantastic, very, very dangerous. They have hand attacks. They have kicks. They have strikes and takedowns, and they have throws, and they have wrestling moves and locks and all sorts of stuff. Very well-rounded system, very dangerous system. And you could have someone that trains in mixed martial arts, but they don't put in the effort. They don't put in the time and the dedication needed to excel, and they'll be kind of whack. So they'll come up against maybe a boxer that, they have a hardcore training regimen. Not saying that MMA doesn't have a hardcore training regimen. I'm just comparing a slacker MMA fighter to a boxer that's, 100% dedicated to his discipline, and the boxer is gonna kick some ass, put out the mixed martial artist. So again, you have to find what works for you. If you're a person that already has practiced martial arts, and you discovered during your martial training that there's specific techniques that you used, and those techniques worked well for you, and you just want to learn, you want to defend yourself because that's what you want, you focus on those natural techniques that you have, and you make them work for you. Let's say that you have the ability, when you were training, to use 1-2, just a straight jab, cross, jab, cross. That is your bread and butter. You found that you were sparring with someone, and every time you had the chance, you went boom, boom, and you would always connect or knock the person down. Then that is the golden ticket. That's the money shot for you. That is the technique that you have to develop above all other techniques to make sure that you can sharpen it to the extent that it will work in any situation. You're sitting down, someone comes up to you, you're able to get up, boom, boom. You're walking down the street, you bump into somebody, someone's going to attack you, boom, boom. Use that technique, make it work. Don't think that you have to be able to do Van Damme kicks. I don't know if you young guys know who Van Damme is. Jean-Claude Van Damme, beautiful kicker, actor. Look him up. You don't have to do Van Damme kicks up to here. You don't have to do kicks where you're kicking brick walls. You're knocking the brick walls down and stuff like that. You don't have to do that. You just have to find something that works for you and stick to it. It's always important to be well-rounded. It's always important to find a school, to find someone that can teach you things that you don't know. Hopefully, I'll be joining a school soon that I found online. It looks really awesome. They teach jiu-jitsu there, and I'm not a wrestler. I'm not a good wrestler, and I know that. I know that I'm not a good wrestler. I've always had that limitation. So I'm going to try to fix that limitation by joining a school where they show jiu-jitsu, so I could feel more confident if I go to the ground. Standing, I don't feel I have that much of a problem. I'm not great. I'm not a K1 fighter, but I could hold my own. I've done it for years. I've been doing it since I'm 13. Now, you have to be humble, and you have to really take a good look inside and say, okay, this is what I want. This is my limitation. What am I going to do? Once you figure out what you want, once you figure out what direction you want to head, just do it. Don't let anything stop you from achieving your goal. Let me see what else. Oh, another question that I was asked was about Kung Fu. Because I practice Kung Fu, and a lot of you guys know that I practice Kung Fu. If it's really effective or not. Well, this is my 2 cents. My way of thinking concerning Kung Fu has changed throughout the years. When I was younger, I was raised in Puerto Rico. There was no internet back in the 80s. So a lot of the information that I got was limited to like Black Belt Magazine, Inside Kung Fu, magazines that would have articles on martial arts and whatnot. And well, some of those articles were good at the time, and others were full of crap. the Chinese culture um, is very mystical. There's a lot of traditional mysticism within the art. Um, they've been closed to Westerners for a very long time, and there's a lot of BS in Kung Fu. Um, Systems were developed based on animal fighting techniques. They would study animals and they would go into the woods and study animals, and based on how animals were attacking, they would develop a style or a system. Then families would keep that system within their family members. So many systems of fighting belong to family members. Um, some some styles of fighting were dedicated to deities um, or animals, like I said. So there's punches called Buddha fist punching, or they have these for the uninitiated these dances, choreographed dances called forms. The forms um, they look something like that, where they're doing this weird hand motion thing, and that's supposed to be fighting techniques hidden within that dancing. It's not the only system that incorporates this ballet or dancing or flowery movement. There are other systems that use dance as a training tool. One of them is Brazilian capoeira. Capoeira has a tradition of dance. It's a dancing martial arts. They start off in something called the Ginga, which they kind of swing their bodies, take a step back, and then they move their body, as there's instruments playing in the background. It's hard to do in this space, but they do this little dance where they swing their bodies back and forth, bringing their hands up, and they go low. And out of that dance comes their kicks. They have spinning kicks and all that. It's beautiful to watch. So the Chinese have their forms. The Japanese have their katas. The Brazilians have the Ginga. So most traditional martial arts have some type of art within the martial art. Art, the expression of whatever you're doing with your hands and body, is an artistic expression. And martial is war. So it's the art of war. Going back to Kung Fu, what I've learned is that within all that mysticism and that stew of fantasy, there are techniques that can work to save your life. There are techniques that can work to help you fight, but you kind of have to interpret. You kind of have to sift, almost like with the old prospectors looking through gold and trying to sift what would be good and what would be bad for them until they found the gold nugget. So you got to look for that gold nugget. An example that I can give you guys about Kung Fu is something called a crane attack or a crane beak. A crane attack is basically you have your hand, right, and you put it in this position, which looks like a crane. Okay? Now let me digress a little bit. Every style has what they call a guard. A guard is the way that you protect yourself when you're fighting. When you go into combat, that is the guard. Some martial arts, like some boxers will, tuck in their elbows, put their chin down, bring up their shoulder, and they'll be really tight. Their hands will be here. They'll be moving around, and they'll try to to make sure that they can do different combinations. Then you have other people, like some kickboxers or Thai boxers will fight from here. They'll have their hands up, and this is where they'll attack from. You know, this would be their defense. If they're attacked, they block. You know, if somebody comes in, they grab, and they go to the knees, or they go to the, okay? Some more traditional schools, you'll see that they'll be like, and they'll stand like in a, what they call a horse stance, sideways, and they'll attack from here. So every system has a different guard. You know, some Kung Fu schools will have a stance like this, or a stance like this. You know, or some will become very flowery, and they'll be like, they'll have very Matrix, very Neo, looking stances. A bit dramatic, a bit unrealistic, but it's traditional. So going back to the crane, beak or the crane attack, what you're taught in the school is if you're fighting somebody from a position, somebody attacks you, you hook the punch. Okay, so someone throws you a punch, you hook, and then move out of the way, and you strike. So you're fighting the person, hook, boom, strike. You can do the same thing here. You hook, you strike. So that's what the hook does. Now, in a real combat situation, I'm not sure that's going to work. Because if someone is coming at you full force with a jab, right? And usually they don't just jab, they go 1, 2 because they want to hit you in the face. Doing this is probably not going to work. So probably the best course of action is to modify that attack a little bit. You bring your hands up, okay, and you just watch the person. You tell them, wait, I don't want any problems. Please stop. But be mindful that this is going to escalate immediately. So your hands are up in what appears to be a position of pleading. You know, you're pleading them, please, asking them, please, you know, don't hurt me. But what the opponent doesn't realize is that you're already in a guard. Your hands are up, protecting your face, protecting your head. Okay? And if they attack, then what you do is you just put your hand down. That simple. That's step back a little bit, put your head down. Step back a little bit, put your hand down. And if it's 2 punches, boom, you can go ta-ta. Put your hand down. Okay? But let's keep it simple, because we're talking about modifying the hook, right, into an attack that's a little more practical. So you go block. As soon as you block, keep this hand up because you don't want to get hit by that hand, and you just strike forward with this part of the wrist. This part of the wrist is very hard. If you hit someone hard enough on the bridge of the nose, this is going to crack. Blood everywhere. Then after you hit the person, their eyes are going to get all watery. You follow up by a punch. Another punch. Right in the nose again. Or the mouth. Wherever you want. Or the throat. You know, block, strike, punch. And then if for whatever reason the person's not down, you want them to go down, then you continue. You follow up until they're down. Okay? So that would be a modified version of using a traditional technique like the crane hook or the crane strike, instead of it looking goofy and maybe it'll work, or maybe it's a more effective way of taking traditional Kung Fu and making it a little more practical. Let me get someone so I can show you how that would look with with actually being attacked. Give me one moment. Hi again. So, with an opponent trying to explain the modified crane attack or the modified crane wrist attack and how it would look. So, my opponent is in front of me. He's off camera right now. You're gonna see a fist coming towards me. See? Okay. But you tell the person to stop. I don't want to have a fight. I don't want to have any problems. You're already in a guard position. Your hands are up. You know, they don't know that you're in a guard position. It looks like you're pleading, please stop. And then here comes the jab. So what you do is you rock your body back a little and just bring the hand down. Go back, bring the hand down. Go back, bring the hand down. Do it faster. Faster. See? You just tap it, and it could be done with both hands. Okay? So it's a simple, just doing this, but it has to be done quickly because you don't want to get hit. Now the crane thing, person throws the jab. As soon as you make contact with the fist, you could use this other hand here to hold the hand, and then you come in and you hit with the back of the wrist. That's one way of doing it. Now, if you want to make it more practical because you want to keep your guard up, you just go and you hit right there. You block, and then you hit with the wrist and the bridge of the nose. Okay, so it's a lot more practical, I think, throw a straight fist, than if you go and do this. I mean, this may have a purpose. I do use these type of blocks, you know, but this also works. Or I could come in like this with the other hand. That's another possibility. You know, I could come in with this one. So you have to learn how to modify your attacks in order to make them work for you, because everything's really not that clear when it comes to martial arts sometimes, especially Kung Fu. What I had explained about kickboxing was kickboxers will clinch the back of the neck and they'll use the elbow as attacks, and this part of your elbow cuts like a razor blade. So as soon as they cut you across the forehead, cut you in the nose, you're gonna bleed like a stuffed pig. One more thing. Come over here. Keeping the distance is very important. So if someone's going to reach for you, you can keep their distance by putting your foot on their what do you call this? Thigh. On their thigh. So there's different ways of doing it. He's going to reach for me. He has to move. The leg is longer than the arm, so you could push him back, or you could turn your foot around in a way that keeps him at bay. Remember to lean back. So if you're going to try to grab me, I lean back. Try to grab me with the other hand. I lean back. Okay. Of course, your hands are going to be up. You know, you hit, and then you can come in and do whatever you need to do. So that's it. Thanks, buddy. Yeah. All right. So each martial arts has its advantages and their disadvantages. You have to be mindful. You have to look at those advantages. Sometimes in schools, they won't teach you techniques very clearly, so you kind of have to dedicate time or ask the instructor to clarify things or figure them out yourself. So in closing, it's not necessarily the school, it's what you put into it, but the school does play an important role. Find a school that suits you and what you're looking for. Find a school that will help you become the champion, or the reach the goals that you want to reach, and just stick with it, you know. So good luck. I hope this was entertaining and informative, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.